Hi, I'm Meg. I'm taking on projects I once doubted I was capable of. Earlier this summer, I purchased 3 acres of undeveloped land with a small budget and a big dream of building my own home and shop from the ground up. The past few months have been spent clearing the overgrown property and getting all the ducks in a row to begin development. Last week, my partner Mike and I took on the daunting task of drilling our own well with our homemade drill rig. So we're at 10 feet, we're just screwing on our 3rd section, and then we're going to attach it into the coupler of the 2nd drill stem piece. And despite a few hiccups along the way...
Oh no, Mike, the hose! The hose!
We gotta get water down the hole now.
We successfully cased our well and are getting amazing water flow and quality. But in order to set up our filtration system and get this water to a drinkable state, I've got to get to building my well house. So today, I'm going to be attempting to build my first concrete pad. First step, we're going to prepare our work area. So let's go grab some marking paint and a tape, and let's get into this. Marking paint, my tape. So Mike built this temporary well house the other day after finishing drilling our well because we really wanted to get our pump installed as soon as possible so that we could have at least unfiltered water on tap. Now I'm gonna lay out a 10-foot by 7-foot rectangle, and that will be the area for my gravel base. So one of the most important things in this project is going to be not hitting my well. So I'm gonna mark out 2 feet this way and 2 feet that way, and this well is going to live in the corner of the well house. So there's 2 feet. There. With my American paint. I think it's gonna be something like this and something like that. And 7 feet. There. So honestly, taking a look at this rectangle, it feels a little small. So I'm gonna add an extra foot of depth to my area and a foot of width and make this more 11 by 8. There we go. And then we can delete this line. All right, well, this size is looking and feeling a lot better. I definitely don't need to have a massive well house, but I also don't want it to be cramped and not have enough room for my filtration equipment. So now that this area is laid out, I'm gonna jump in the cat and I'm gonna scrape off the first foot layer of organic material. We have extremely soft soil on this property. So I'm gonna be backfilling this area with pit run and gravel to have a nice compact level layer of solid ground so that I can build on it. So let's go grab the cat. So I actually already have my tamper in my rock bucket, so I'm gonna bring that over to my work area first, and then I'm gonna switch my bucket out for my flat blade bucket. Completely not necessary. I could totally scrape the organic layers with this bucket. This one works much better for rocks, and the flat blade bucket works amazing in this soft soil. It cuts through it like butter. So let's go bring this over to the work site. Go. All right, let's go switch the buckets. Now that I have my bucket swapped, let's get to digging this pit. I'm going to tilt the bucket down, drive forward a little bit. See how that did. Yeah, I probably should have dug the back part first. That was cool. Yeah, nice. Okay, I'm loving that. That's great. Back up. We're not going to hit the well. We are not going to hit the well. Set her down for now. Oh, I just love this thing. How could you not? It's perfect. Here's our line right there. Obviously a little messy there. We'll clean that up. And then I've got within like 2.5 feet of the well there. And so I will dig up to this point right here, about 6 inches away or 8 inches away or so from the well casing itself with my shovel. And we'll get this all prepped and ready and put some gravel in. Oh, no, not yet. We actually are going to have to dig another trench, which I will explain once I'm done hand digging this area. Now, with a little more practice in the cat, I'll be able to save myself from hand digging and cut in more precisely. But I'm still a little nervous operating it and didn't want to get too close to my well and risk damaging it. Thankfully, I've got a few more hours to put on the cat today because my next step is using the cat to dig a 3-foot deep trench down the middle of my gravel pit area to lay my water lines in. Living in Canada means we get below freezing temperatures for many months of the year. So I have to dig down past the permafrost layer so that my water lines won't freeze. The plan was to use the International backhoe as our trench digging workhorse, but since it's proven to be more of a lawn ornament than a trusty steed, Mike and I decided we were going to need to find something that could work on the skid steer to get the job done. So we found this barely used hydraulic digger arm with a 24-inch bucket for a great deal not far from home. However, when we went to attach it to the cat, we found out one of the auxiliary hydraulic circuits in our skid steer wasn't working, and only the lift function could work on our new attachment for now. A huge bummer to say the least, but thankfully the arm could still dig, although without the ability to curl the bucket, meaning I could still carry on digging my trench today in a modified way, while Mike was busy looking into the cat wiring diagram for our fix. You know what? Looking good. I'm actually gonna get Mike to come and give me a hand for this next part because we're gonna be laying down the water lines and they are very long and quite heavy and it's hard to wrestle them on your own. So I'm gonna get him to come over and help and I'm going to lay 3 lines in my trench and I'm going to attach them to a stake so that when I backfill the pit that I've dug or the trench I dug with my dirt, they will stay in place and they're not going to fall down into the trench. So Mike's just pulling up and we've got the water line in the back of the truck that we're going to unload and lay in the trench here. So Mike pre-prepared my stake for me. He just cut off the end so there's a pokey end. And I'm gonna put the stake right around here. Okay, what's next, boss?
Okay, you're gonna take that, screw that to the front of that at the top.
Bit of a wild cowboy.
Why are you holding my hand?
Keeping your hand there so I can screw through it.
You can stab me?
What is this on baby Bambi mode?
Your battery's almost dead. It's good.
It
though,
is almost dead.
You wanna...
There. So then we have some plumber's strap, which I'm assuming is going to strap the plumbing pipe to our stake.
Exactly.
Glad I figured that one out.
Yeah, so we can fasten like 1, 2, and 3 nicely, right where we want them. This piece will stay. You can fasten this to your stake or whatever.
So we got one line for here. We're gonna have one line to there. We're gonna have one line to there. That's basically what it is. And I will fill you in later on what they're gonna be for. There.
One of us is gonna have to hold the line up while the other one backfills.
Okay.
I want probably 2 feet like that. Yeah, this is gonna be even, times tricky with 2 people.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll start here, we'll get this good, and then we'll work that way.
So this one was 1 inch line, and this is 3/4 line. And the 3/4 line is 500 feet in length.
And we could have upsized a little bit more.
For extra PSI, but really, who runs a shower, a dishwasher, and all their faucets at the same time and flushing the toilet? It's not really a thing, so this is gonna be very much sufficient.
Where's the start of the roll?
You've got one, the orange end is there at your feet. You want a hand? Where are we going with it?
So where the hose is gonna go?
Oh God.
Want me to carry it?
No.
Carry it together.
Okay. So Mike's just cutting the end of the line, and we are going to set up a hose bib. That way we can wash our vehicles or any sort of equipment or anything that's dirty that we don't want to bring in the house. We can wash it outside our house.
Yeah.
Third line.
Yeah. There we go.
So into the hole, and then we have the same amount.
What do you know, Maggie's in a bit of a time crunch. How surprising.
Surprise, surprise. We have a big day tomorrow as well on this project and another project that we're working on behind the scenes, which you will get filled in on later. And it's gonna rain, so it's gonna be a big soupy mess if we don't get to it soon.
Good?
Yeah.
No, we just want to make sure that's like
down and in. The first layer of aggregate we're laying down is called pit run. And just like its name, this stuff is dug right out of a gravel pit wall. It contains sand, gravel, and rocks up to about 10 inches in diameter, and it is the perfect stuff to start our gravel base with. After adding a foot or two of pit run, we then raked it flat. Once it was relatively level, I got to try a new tool I've always been intrigued by. Tamping time.
You ever ran a tamper before?
I've never, ever run a tamper before.
Fun, you're gonna like it.
Really?
Yeah.
Does it have fuel in it? Oh, because it's on off?
It generally runs better when it's on.
Well, I can't hear you.
Only goes forwards.
Okay, only goes forward.
You gotta turn.
I can't begin to tell you how much joy and satisfaction this tamper brings me. This is definitely one of the most satisfying activities, and now anytime there are opportunities to tamp, I jump at it. Now, this process of laying a foot of pit run, raking it smooth, tamping it, and then adding more layers of gravel does take some time.
Okay, so now we're adding a second layer of pit run. Now let's tamp it again.
But with how soft our soil is, I definitely want to make sure each layer of gravel that goes down is laid and tamped well. Once we reached our desired grade, we topped it with 3/4 inch gravel. And just like the pit run layers, this too got raked and tamped. I wasn't joking when I said that this process took some time. In fact, it took around 4 hours from start to finish just for this pit run and gravel portion of the project. But just as for any project, prep is the most important step. All right, now before it gets too dark, I'm gonna bring over my big pieces of foam and I'm gonna cut them to size. They're gonna be 6'3" by 9'3". Now, my sheets are 4x8, so I'm gonna have to do some creative scabbing of them together. So let's bring them over here and grab an Olfa blade and we will get these cut and put into place. The dimensions of our slab is going to be 6x9, but my forms for my slab are obviously going to be bigger. It's going to be 6'3" by 9'3", and I want my forms to sit on top of this foam. So this will be my one edge here, my one corner. So I need it 1'3" outside of the well. This might be a little bit crazy trying to do this in the dark, but so I need to add 1'3" to the end. Okay. And if you're wondering why I don't have my generator and my lights set up, well, one of our generators died, so we're using our backup generator for the trailer. So I'm just using my flashlight right now to light the space. I can still see, kind of. There you go. Like that. That was dumb. I should have done full length first, not the end. I hope I have enough material now. Even on a good day, math is not my strong suit. But trying to do math at the end of a 10-hour workday, in the dark, well, let's just say I struggled. I had to figure out how to cut a perfectly spaced hole in the foam for the well and for the water lines, and my brain just could not compute. Honestly, I could have made this way easier on myself had I just spent a few minutes getting some battery-powered lights and maybe draw out my foam plan on a piece of paper first. What did I do wrong? I mean, come on. Of course I was bound to make some mistakes. But I stubbornly pushed on and continued to hack away at the foam like Edward Scissorhands, cutting styrofoam bricks late into the night, making a ton of miscuts, and getting really frustrated along the way. Knowing I was now far from making this look pretty and uniform, I continued with my hack job until it was done. Well, in hindsight, I should have pulled the truck up so that I could see better and do better work. But now I've kind of made a mess of the foam and I have a lot of styrofoam bricks to glue together tomorrow. So I'm gonna leave it there for tonight and I'm gonna do some tidying of all these offcuts so they don't blow away in the wind overnight. And I will see you in the morning. Well, I can definitely see a lot better this morning. I don't know why I tried to do all of this in the dark, but sometimes you do dumb things when you're in a rush. Anyways, The foam doesn't look too bad now that I can actually see it. I was a little nervous last night of how this was going. But I do want to make some minor adjustments because this edge of the foam is too close to the edge of the gravel, and I definitely don't want any instability in my concrete slab. So I'm going to start with doing some fine tuning to the foam, and then I'll get started on building my forms. So I'll take all the weights off and let's get to it. Okay, and this is my offcut that I'm gonna need later. I'm very close to this edge here, like I was mentioning before. So I want to bump this over like 3 inches, which is great because I have the room. So I'm gonna bump it this way a little bit. I'll have to cut this a little bit more to bump it that way. But you can see on this side, I have quite a bit more room. So I think moving it this way 3 inches is the right call. Okay, good enough. I'm gonna go grab my spray foam. That's gonna serve as our glue to glue all these puzzle pieces together. All right, so I've got this Great Stuff window and door polyurethane foam sealant. It works the same as Hilti foam to fill in gaps and cracks, but it also works great as an adhesive for styrofoam. So I'm gonna use this to glue together all of my styrofoam bricks. Oh! Oh, jeez. Now this stuff truly does get everywhere. We're gonna go through a lot of foam today. A little closer to 6'4". Yeah, it's not perfectly square. Surprise, surprise. So you need a strip of foam to go in there. 1.5 inches. There. Like that. Just cut off the end here. Whoops, just ruined that blade. And like that. All right, spray foam. This is what I like to call a hot mess. All right, well, this should only take a few minutes for the foam to cure up, and then I can trim it off so it's all nice and flat. In the meantime, I'm gonna go grab my lumber for my forms and we'll get to cutting. There we go. So I've got some 2x6s here. And my first pieces are gonna be cut to 6 foot lengths. I'm gonna build a 6x9 interior. The size of the concrete is gonna be 6x9, which means my boards, my sticks, need to be a little bit longer so that the interior space stays 6x9. My 2 6-footers are going to be the inside pieces, and the long 9-foot 3 pieces will have to be scabbed together because these are only 8 foot lengths. I didn't buy 10 foot lengths, which I probably should have, but I initially was gonna build a smaller well house. So because things changed, I'm gonna have to make adjustments as I go. So let's cut our first 2 6-foot pieces. Okay, so let's cut this piece. Done. All right, we've got our 2 6-foot boards, and these are gonna serve as our scab pieces. So it's gonna join the 2 longer pieces together. 8 feet. To get it to 9'3", we need to cut a 1'3" chunk. And another 1'3". All right, so now I'm gonna go back to my foam and trim off all the spray foam so that it's nice and flat, and then we can start building our box. Okay, well, I'm gonna leave the foam near the water lines because I absolutely do not want to risk stabbing into those water lines. And it doesn't really matter because it's all gonna get covered in foam or in concrete anyways. We got our 2 8-footers here. Scab pieces. We'll go here. Like that. Like that. Like that. And my scab pieces are going to be in opposing positions so that those weak points are not both on the same side. I'll have on that side over there and that side up there. And then my 2-foot offcut is basically going to attach these pieces together. I'm going to be screwing all of this together from the outside in because eventually, once I've poured my concrete and it's cured, I'm going to be removing this form. It's not going to stay. So if I were to put my screws on the inside, well, they're going to be buried in concrete and I won't be able to get these wood pieces off very easily. Need a little shim. I didn't bring any shims over. Maybe that will help me. Using some roots as shims. And then we'll need our scab piece for that. I'm gonna get a clamp and some proper shims so I do this properly. Shim. I probably should have brought a level too. One piece, just a tiny bit there to flush it up. Move on over to the other side, right about there. Make sure that's all flush. And then this one. Getting a lot better with the drill now. Take that out and that. Okay, some more shims and some 2x4s. And these are going to be for my stakes. I'm going to cut a steep point on the ends to use as stakes, and that's going to hold my box straight. So when I pour my concrete and all that weight of the concrete tries to splay it out, these are going to help reinforce the structure of the box so that doesn't happen. And I have a nice square, well, rectangular box. And I'm not going to be too precise or measure these. I'm just going to wing it, and we'll see how that goes. We'll try that. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we'll start with those. So the goal here is to have a stake at each corner, or I guess 2 stakes at each corner, 1 on each side, and then a couple in the middle, a couple on the sides, and that'll hopefully anchor this all together. So I figure before I drive my stakes, I should probably check that this is flat and straight. What do you know? Probably should have done this to begin with. I think that's good. Much better. It's not straight. Okay. Pull this out. Nice. Okay. Get this lined up on my foam, and then I'm going to 3, 4, 5 my corners. And that's where you take a measurement off the corner here. You go 3 feet, you go 4 feet this way, and then your diagonal is 5, and that makes sure the corners are square. And measure 3 feet right there on the outside corner. And then we measure 4 feet. And then from that point to this point should be 5, which it looks like it is. I mean, it seems pretty square. I think it's square. We're gonna just leave it at that. Stake driving time. I think I'm right on top of a rock, maybe. Let's try right there. Okay, maybe that one's good. Yeah, it's in a rock. I can't drive them any further. I'm hitting boulders. I'm using my lifeline. I have no muscle power left. All that raking yesterday, my shoulders, my arms are just like...
We have a sledgehammer. I just got to buy a handle for it. I keep forgetting to get one when we're at the store. I could have come out in actual shoes, not slippers. You're doing good. It's great.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, it is. Gotta keep hitting it. So close.
So close yet so far.
Probably just push these in with the cat, eh?
Just stomp it?
Not joking, you probably could. I'm really tempted to fire up the cat and bring it over here. Yeah, I'm gonna try it.
Okay, bring her over. That is hilarious. Yeah, good. There's a lot of trust. Oh! Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
Where's
Okay.
mark 3, 4, 5?
On the scab corners.
Pass. Yeah, I mean that's it. Yeah, it's good.
Pretty bang on,
Yeah,
right?
it's bang on.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
By the time you straighten this out a little bit, pull that out. The concrete will do that though.
Thanks for the help. Definitely helped with the bucket. All right, so now my form is pretty well done, but the next step is to cut my rebar. And the rebar is gonna get laid inside of this rectangle as a grid, and that's gonna add structural rigidity to my concrete slab. So let's head over to the workshop where I can access some power and we'll cut those rebar lengths. So Mike left me out this kit and he told me that this is all I need to be a rod buster. So I'm gonna measure my lengths and cut them down and we'll get them back over to our slab. 4 at 8'6". So that would be right there. Apparently, that's how you mark it. You hold the tape on and you nick it with the grinder wheel, and then you can cut it from there. There. Those, we need 2 more little offcuts at, I think this is 1.5 feet. Yeah, just about 16 inches. There. All right, now we can head over to our slab. Here are my 5-foot lengths. We gotta do our perimeter first. I'm gonna make like a rectangle inside of this wooden rectangle, and then we'll make the grid pieces. Because I had planned on building a smaller well house initially, I bought my materials based on that. But now that we're going a little bit bigger, I have to do some modifications. So I'm gonna add these 1'6" offcuts to my 5-foot lengths to make them 5'6". And I'm gonna stagger the scabbed on pieces, one on that side, one on this side, one on that side, one on this side, all the way across. That way there's no weak side. It's alternating, making it better. And we're gonna take our tie wire, cut a little piece off like that, and we're gonna wrap it around. Once, and then we take this plier tool, and I'm sure this gets easier with practice, but then we twist. There. That seems pretty good. And then we'll do another one here, so it's nice and secure. And we twist. There. Bend that down. I just realized I missed one critical step. I've got to lay some poly down first. So I'm actually going to take these pieces of rebar out, and I'm going to bring over my roll of poly. Now the key here with the poly is to not let it unravel. Otherwise this roll is toast. Lots of overlap there. Uh-oh. Okay, hopefully that's good. Okay, definitely a little excessive on the poly, but that's okay. Better than not enough. There. Cut a hole here. How am I gonna get around that? I guess I have to cut a slit. I'll cut a slot for that. I've got some tuck tape, and I'm just gonna tape around where I've cut this so that no concrete can seep underneath it. Make sure we've got enough room to come up and over. Now, if some concrete does seep beneath this, it is absolutely not the end of the world. A lot of people don't even tape this off, but I am trying to learn how to do things the proper way. Okay, I want this upright so that when the concrete's poured and dry, it's not gonna be bent over like crazy. That'll hold it upright. There, back to rebar. There. Okay, for real, I gotta be quick. That is so cool.
Looks like it's black and white.
It does. That's awesome. All right, so I have a few more things left to do in preparation for my concrete pour tomorrow. I've got to staple down my poly, I have a few more rebars to tie, and I've got to level my forms. But before I get into it, I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you so much for 50,000 subscribers. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for subscribing and for commenting and liking these videos. It really does mean a lot, and it makes all of this possible. So to those who have been here from the start, to those who have recently joined, thank you. I am so honored to have earned your subscription. All right, let's get this finished up and get ready for some concrete. I've got some of these middle ones to do here, but otherwise everything looks pretty good. All right, that's done. The next step, let's staple down this poly. So I'm gonna push the poly into the corners and into the edges to make sure that there's enough room for the concrete to splay everything out, and then we'll move on to leveling it. There, that should be good. Nice. So I'm gonna bring out my level, but I'm also gonna bring out my beeper stick, a laser level, so that I can measure it more accurately. I'll explain what I need the gear for in a second. So if you're wondering why I brought the deer over to level my form, it's because the laser level needs to sit on something flat in order to work. So I'm gonna put it on my sides here, and I'll use my beeper stick and try and get this leveled. I've never actually used the beeper stick before, so hopefully this won't take me more than an hour. The reason why I'm using the laser level this time as opposed to other times in past projects is because for this application, you really want it precisely level, and I am never precise with my level. I kind of just say it's good enough and carry on from there, but today I can't do that. So that's why I'm using the tool, the proper tool instead. Well, I took a break to go have some food, and Mike and I were chatting about what I had been working on, and I realized that I shouldn't have stapled it to the top at all because I'm gonna need to screed or use my trowel from this piece of 2x6. So the staples and the poly are gonna make it super uneven, and it's not gonna make it easy for me to keep it level. So I'm gonna remove the poly from the top here and try and pull these staples out, and then I'll get to leveling, because this isn't gonna work the way it is. So I've got my beeper on my level here, and that is going to help me be able to receive the laser that I have set on the deer. And let's just make sure this is working here. Okay, there. Now, I wasn't sure how my microphone would pick up the beep of the beeper stick, and it did a really good job. So good, in fact, that I'm not going to blow your eardrums out by this ear-piercing noise. So let me explain what I'm doing here. The screen of the receiver will beep rapidly and display either an up or a down arrow, indicating whether I need to come up or down with my form to meet the set laser height. So I need to find my highest corner. Once I find the highest corner of my form, I can then set my beeper stick to that height and match all the other corners to it based on what the receiver screen tells me to do. Once the desired height is reached, it will give a solid beep. This far corner over here is the highest, so that's where I have to start. The tricky part is that when you move even 1/8 of an inch, you'll no longer have that solid beep. So it takes some time to get this perfectly accurate. The height of the level is set to this highest corner. So now I'm going to screw in my support braces so that it holds this corner at this point. And then I can go around to my other corners and raise them up to match this. Shim this so that I can drill through it and it'll stay in place. I'm good with that. Let's move on to our next corner and match it up with that. I'm gonna screw this in to my brace here, and hopefully it'll remain unchanged. Some corners weren't too bad to adjust, and others took me forever. Although this took me a solid hour and a half to do, I did get it perfectly level. I might leave it there for tonight, and then tomorrow, before the concrete gets poured, I'm gonna cut all the stakes that we put in and cut them flush with the top of my form so that I can screed it. I'm gonna remove these braces as well. And then it might be a few minor adjustments to do before the concrete gets here, but I think we're pretty well there. So I will see you in the morning. Good morning. Well, it is a chilly and foggy day, but it is a great day to pour some concrete. So I have a few more things to finish up here before the concrete arrives in an hour, so let's get into this. It is a very big day around here. We're getting concrete poured, and we're getting about 10 dump trucks of gravel delivered today for another project that I'll be revealing very soon. All right, next step, I'm gonna vacuum out all this water. I have some medium-sized flat rocks, and I put these underneath my rebar to elevate the rebar grid so that when the concrete's poured, the rebar is kind of floating within the slab rather than right at the bottom. Like that. There we go. Now I've got my 2 styrofoam circles that I've pre-cut, and this is going to keep a spot for a second well if we choose to drill one. I don't think we will need to, but why not have one chalked out just in case? It's easier than drilling through concrete later. So I'm gonna put this over there and we'll stake it down. Spray glue this together. It's like icing a cake, a double layer cake. Gotta say, it's really nice having water on tap. All right, we got water. And just in the nick of time, because a few minutes later, the concrete truck rolled up.
Yeah, get on that. And we're just gonna go back and forth.
Sawing.
And then pull. Pull. Yeah.
You know, at first, I thought building a concrete slab was just screwing together 4 pieces of wood and pouring concrete. But, of course, there's a lot more that goes into it than that. And what I've learned from this project is concrete is stressful. Getting the concrete into my form, raking it evenly, and screeding it level was not as easy as I had anticipated. At first, I thought I'd have no problem doing this myself. But even with this small of a slab, screeding it is definitely better to do with 2 people. Because once that concrete starts to go off, you better be sure you've got it how you want it. Now, the troweling was also a tricky technique to understand at first, so I watched Mike for a few minutes to see how it's done. We're using this special tool called a mag float, and apparently that's the best way to trowel your concrete smooth. Used in the right way, it brings up the cream, as concrete guys call it, to the surface, allowing you to smooth and fill in any surface air pockets with the mag float. This is also a time-sensitive activity, and you've got to move quickly and do it properly in order to have a nicely finished slab. But I did try my hand at it, and honestly, the best thing I can relate the technique to is how your hands move in a swimming pool when you're treading water. Smoothly lifting your leading edge slightly with a sweeping back and forth motion across the surface. And to bring up the cream, you jiggle the mag float slightly to allow the water to rise to the surface, and then you're able to smooth it out.
Meg just went to grab us some lunch because it's 2 o'clock. We've been working flat out since 7 a.m. this morning, but slab's looking pretty good. So because we're getting just over a yard, they would have charged us a very large small batch fee because that's 1 meter. Normally a concrete truck is 10 meters on it. So very empty truck. So they were able to sneak a little bit extra concrete on from another pour, and then he came from that pour straight to us. So the concrete was already been mixed for a few hours, and unfortunately the other pour took a few hours longer than expected. So this concrete was mixed for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours before it even showed up here. So we really had to act fast, get it in, and now concrete's in the ground. It looks pretty good.
While I was on my way back from town with some food, Mike dug the excess concrete away from the forms and did some final touches with a finishing trowel on our slab. But no concrete slab is complete without a seal of approval from the site supervisor.
Good girl.
Now, while that concrete dries, I've got to fill you in on a little secret Mike and I have been keeping from you. Every day for the past month or so, we've been slowly chipping away at this side quest in preparation for a massive next phase in our property's development. You may remember when we were getting our concrete poured for the wellhouse slab, I mentioned that we were also getting 18 dump trucks of rocks delivered.
We're getting about 10 dump trucks of gravel delivered today.
For now, that's all I can reveal about this little side quest, but I promise to fill you in next week. So, back to the slab. Good morning! Well, it's been 24 hours since we poured concrete and the slab looks amazing. So, all that's left to do now is strip the forms and clean up my area. So, let's get into it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is remove my stakes. So I've got my drill, I'm gonna pop these screws out, and hopefully these stakes will come out relatively easily. I don't think these are coming out very easily. I mean, when you drive them in with a skid steer, you gotta expect they're gonna be difficult to come out. Okay, that's removed. At least I got one thing off. Not a chance. All right, time to bring in some reinforcements. We're firing up the cat. We're gonna try and wrap this chain around the stake and hoist it out of the dirt. Okay, let's try that. Come on up.
Looks like the cat just makes everything easier.
Pry bar? I mean, crowbar? What are you up to? Nice work! Well, it's safe to say the cat is an absolute beast of a unit, and it has already proven to have been the best purchase for our property. It's so versatile and has already saved us so much time and muscle power. To put it in perspective, we have already put 80 hours of runtime on this machine in the 5 weeks we've owned it, which at 8 hours a day, that would have been 10 rental days at minimum. At $500 a day, we would have already spent $5,000 on a skid steer or other heavy machinery rental. Never mind the inconveniences of rental scheduling and delivery. So to us, although it was an expensive budget breaker, it was absolutely worth it. Come on up! Yeah. Perfect, that's all of them. Well, using the cat was definitely the play. That made taking out the stakes so nice and easy. The slab looks good, so I'm just gonna do a little bit of tidying, getting my area around the slab all cleaned up so that it's nice and easy to build my well house. Quick little hose off. Well, it's not as perfect as a professional would do, but I'm really happy with it. And it's perfect practice for when we pour our garage slab. Now, we didn't focus as much attention on the edges, but I'm not really worried about that because we're gonna have walls on top of that. Most importantly, Ellie's paw print turned out. All right, well, that about does it for my concrete slab pour. I do have a small chip on the edge there, but I'm really not concerned about it because I'm gonna be building a well house on top of it and we're never gonna see it. So I'm gonna leave it there for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this project and I'll see you very soon for the next phase of my well house build.